Hello and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I'm James Currie with the Communication Department, and I'm talking to Elizabeth Yeackle. She's an outreach educator with us here at MCHD. Elizabeth, how are you?
I'm doing well today. How are you?
I'm never better, as they say, never better. Now we're talking about it's kind of a sensitive subject. It's a little, you let's just go right out, just come right out and talk about it, okay? But people wouldn't know anything about it unless they watch TV and they've seen a commercial on TV. But we're going to talk about ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. They're closely related. They share a lot of the same symptoms. So why are we talking about it? Well, to bring awareness about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, though, it's a very specialized disease. Though we don't treat it here at MCHD, we can be the first stop for someone that, may just have some of the symptoms or they just don't know what's going on. They're just not feeling well. So they would stop here first at their provider, their primary care physician, and then we can, refer them over to someone specialized in that field. So let me look at my notes here. Hold on just one moment, please. So like we mentioned, outside of seeing some commercials on TV, no one really knows anything about it. So tell me, what is it?
They are diseases that are collectively known as irritable bowel diseases or IBD. They are autoimmune diseases, which means that your autoimmune attacks a part of your body. With Crohn's disease, your immune system will actually attack your entire digestive system. And with ulcerative colitis, it is just localized in your large intestine. So you can have many different symptoms. They often mimic food poisoning. That's actually was my very first diagnosis when I got sick was food poisoning. And they can be, pretty hard diseases to live with.
Yeah, we were going to get to that in a second, but you jumped right on into it, which is okay. um, yeah, you suffer from this, and you have learned a lot about this, and you're an advocate for it. So let's talk a little bit about it. You've got some stats about it. So collectively, how many people are affected by this?
In the United States, there's 3.1 million Americans that are diagnosed with IBD, and the number is growing every year. It used to actually be a disease that was seen in richer countries, and we're actually seeing it in a lot more third world and underdeveloped countries now.
So you've been dealing with this for a long time, right? It's not
I
just
have.
something recent. So how many years have you
I
been
was
dealing with?
diagnosed 15 years ago, and my
Mhm.
original diagnosis was ulcerative colitis. I became very sick 3 times in my life. The last time was extremely bad, and I actually had my large intestine removed. And then 2 weeks before I started working here, I got diagnosed, or they changed my diagnosis actually to Crohn's disease.
Wow. Well, but it's treatable, obviously, and you're living with it. You're working. You have a full-time job, and so it's manageable, correct?
It is. It's manageable. There is definitely a requirement of medication. A lot of people think they can just do it through diet, and that's just not possible. Diet is a very, very big part of it. But you have to take medication, immunosuppressors. So it's a medication that will suppress your immune system. Diet is a really big part. And for a lot of people, myself included, surgery is a big part of that,
Mhm.
especially for Crohn's patients. They do have a much higher percentage of surgery than an ulcerative colitis patient does.
So you're very, very mindful about anything that you take in, right? Any type
Yes,
of food. So
there are some foods that I absolutely cannot eat, which is sad because I miss salad a lot. But yeah, you have to be
yeah.
very careful with what you eat. Some people, they're called trigger foods, and they can be very different for every person. So there might be something I can eat that another patient cannot eat.
Mhm.
It's very different from person to person.
So your diet is very specialized based on your individual dietary needs.
Yes, and that can make it very difficult for patients, especially new patients, because the whole process is, unfortunately, it's trial and error. You
Hmm.
just have to see what bothers you, cut certain things out of your diet, see if you feel better once you stop eating those foods, and it's just a big learning process that can take years.
Well, we have dietitians here also as well. So, that would be part of your team to help you. Not just your primary care physician, but then your dietitian and then your specialty care physician. So, like I mentioned, um, if do you want to go through some of the symptoms? You said it kind of mimics food poisoning. So, do you want to kind of share some of those?
Sure.
Okay.
There can be a lot of pain,
Yeah.
a lot of cramping. Crohn's patients can have a lot of swelling of joints. Um, lots of trips to the bathroom,
Hmm.
unfortunately, is a really big part of it, considering that the disease does attack your digestive
Hmm.
system.
And that's probably why there's this big stigma cloud, that's hanging over that, people may just be embarrassed to talk about it, or, they don't even want to talk to their physician about it. They're just so embarrassed about it.
Yeah, a lot of people are very embarrassed to talk about it. It took me years to be able to talk about it. Many people don't like to tell other people that they have the disease. And it can be difficult for others to listen to someone talk about it just because of
Mhm.
this the stigma that's involved with it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of misunderstanding. So I'm really thankful that, you're able to, kind of be able to talk about it and advocate about it. So, uh, you know, adults, you're an adult. I mean, is it primarily seen in adults, or what is the age range?
The typical age of diagnosis is between 15 and 30. People do get diagnosed at an older age, and there are pediatric patients. And again, we're seeing a lot more pediatric patients as the years have gone by, where many more children are coming down with this.
Yeah, so it's it's not just okay, I don't know, 38, and here, there's a wide range of ages there.
There is.
So we talked about it just a moment ago that, you're an advocate for it. You also volunteer, right? So can you talk a little bit about what you do with the volunteering to bring awareness to it?
Sure. After I had my surgery, I felt very alone dealing with all of the problems that I was having, and I found the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, which is a national nonprofit that has been around since the 1950s, I think, actually, advocating and raising money for Crohn's and Colitis. So I started volunteering with them. I am a board member for the Alabama and Northwest Florida chapter of the foundation. I am heavily involved with the education, advocacy, and support department. And I recently got nominated to be on a research stakeholder committee, which means that I get to help review research applications and help decide where the foundation is going to put their grant money towards, which is a really big deal and
Mhm.
makes me feel happy to know that my input is going to help fund research that's going to help other people like me.
Well, we're very fortunate to have a very involved and connected person, as yourself here on staff. I mean, you're an outreach educator for us, and you work in many different facets. And we're just thankful that you've got that foundation behind you, that you're here, but you're also working, volunteering and things like that. Um, so basically, what's the process of diagnosis if we hadn't talked about it already?
Once you see your primary care physician and they feel that you have an issue that is beyond their scope of help, they are going to refer you to a gastroenterologist, which is a doctor that specializes in the digestive system and the liver. There are many, many, many different tests that you will be put through to determine if you have Crohn's or colitis. And then once they do determine that you have that, medication is the next step.
And we're also going to include a link here in the text that accompany the video for the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. And there's a lot of great information on that website.
Yes, they have a wonderful, wonderful website. Lots of information for anyone that is a patient or knows a patient, that can refer them. There's support groups, there's counseling, there's a 800 number you can call to ask questions. They help people who don't have insurance find ways to get treatment. So there's a lot of resources available through the foundation.
And, like you mentioned, resources here, aside from, and we don't need to go into this detail, but I just want to mention, aside from the physical symptoms that someone experiences, they also experience a lot of emotional and mental symptoms that go along with it too. We don't need to go into all those nuances, but, just to know that, we do have behavioral health here also, to be able to, for someone to speak to a counselor, because, like we mentioned, there's a big stigma, this giant cloud, that surrounds it, something people don't want to talk about, but it's a disease. It's out there. You gave the stats on how many people are experiencing it. So, I mean, it's a real thing. But it's not by
and I mentioned trigger foods, but stress is also a very big trigger. And there have been many, many studies done that show that stress is actually one of the things that will cause Crohn's or colitis. It's one of the environmental factors. That's what I was looking for. One of the environmental factors that contributes to the development of the disease. So behavioral health is a very, very important part of disease management and treatment.
That's probably one of the main things that everyone needs to eliminate from their life is stress. De-stress for sure. Namaste. Anyway, it's not by happenstance that we're speaking. So I know there's an awareness month or awareness week. So when is it?
Yes, December 1st through the 7th is Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Week. So this was wonderful timing for this interview so we could create awareness around the health department.
Well, we appreciate you taking your time to speak about it on Wellness Wednesday. And, obviously we're hoping that you continue, and wishing you the best with having to deal with it. And, we hope for many years of positive outcomes for you and your health personally.
Well, thank you.
You're quite welcome. And thank you again for being on Wellness Wednesday.
No problem. Thank you for taking the time to help me bring more awareness about this disease.
Well, thanks again and have a great Wednesday.